Hello guys, how you doing? It's Solomon here with another it's actually episode 10 of the prequel series to my podcast and YouTube channel, YouTube series, Free Speech with Solomon. This is episode 10 of the prequel series where I interview myself and talk about my opinions. And without further ado, let's get it going. So, I've migrated back to my room, no longer in the office. I'm actually quarantined. So I took a coronavirus test this morning at the local hospital, and let me tell you guys, it was not pleasant. It burned, and it left my nose and head and stuff hurting for a good hour or two afterwards. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't excruciatingly painful, but it was pretty uncomfortable, and it made like my nose run afterwards to where I thought that it was like bleeding, but it was just regular runny nose. So yeah, and the reason why I had to take the test in quarantine is because I have a surgery next week, and they require that you are coronavirus free, of course, and the only way to do that is to verify it through a test. So I had blood work done, got my coronavirus test today, and I am stuck in my room and my bathroom, not allowed to leave until my procedure, which is next Tuesday. So here for the next 4 or 5 days. So that gives me a lot of time to do my final exams, which are horrible. Sometimes I hate school, but I really love school in the grand scheme of things because I love learning about things and I love my major and blah, blah, blah. However, it gives me time to film these videos and hopefully get some more going out. So today I will be talking about ICE. Basically, I had a poll. The poll that I put out, the next question that I talked about was to my viewers and my followers if they think that ICE should be abolished. Now, ICE stands for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and it's the agency that works to basically deport illegal immigrants that have committed crimes in this country. That's basically what the core tenets of ICE is, and it's nothing new. It's been around for a while. You know, it was around when George Bush was president. It was around when Obama was president. It was around, and it's still around when Trump is president. Lately, though, it's been getting a lot of, condemnation from the liberal media for its excessive use of force and its predatory nature in terms of catching illegal immigrants that have committed crimes in this country. So the question that I postulated to my followers was, do you think ICE should be abolished? And, I got, surprisingly enough, 60 yes, 40 no, around there. I expected more people to say yes because a lot of people that I know from high school, I mean, I only graduated high school a couple years ago. A lot of people I know are Hispanic. It's just factual that the high school that I went to was probably like 85 or 90% Hispanic. And there were a lot of undocumented immigrants that went to that school, a lot of people whose parents were undocumented, a lot of people that are on DACA, all that kind of stuff. So it was predominantly Hispanic, and everyone thought that I was Hispanic. And yeah, I'm not Hispanic, but whatever. I'll take it as a compliment, I guess. But anyways, so about 60% of the people said yes, and about 40% of the people said no. And of the people that said no, it was kind of interesting to me because some of them were Mexican. I'll tell you what though, the majority of the Hispanics that said that ICE should not be abolished in my poll that I know are Cuban. It's not surprising to me. I know that there's kind of like Cubans are more Republican, Mexicans are more Democratic. There's some sort of beef between Cubans and Mexicans. I don't know why. I'm not Cuban nor am I Mexican, so I wouldn't be able to answer that for you. But, maybe one of my future guests can answer that for you. But basically there's just some sort of beef. I'm going to look at it at a historical standpoint for the fact that many Cubans that escaped Castro's regime were able to come through Florida and to the United States like over a boat and kind of had more of the legal way of coming in, and they, Cuba was communist, America was capitalist, so, they kind of tend to be more Republican because they got in legally and, they came from a communist country, whereas Mexicans tend to be more democratic, tend to be more liberal, and also a lot of Mexicans are undocumented and are illegal immigrants in today's country, in America. That's just what I know based on me paying attention, not paying attention in history class. But anyways, in U.S. government. But anyways, so my views on ICE and whether it should be abolished is no, I don't think it should be abolished. And why not? I'm going to tell you why it shouldn't be abolished. So, like I said, it has garnered condemnation from a lot of media, and a lot of people have personal anecdotes about how bad they are. I'll say how brutal they are. Some people have gone so far as to call them Nazis or say that they act like Nazis or whatever, which I personally find a stretch and kind of offensive, considering that, you know, I have family members that actually died in the Holocaust, so it's kind of really disrespectful to me for people to compare that, to compare the two. And they also talk about, like, the immigrants, or, like, the children in cages at the border and all that kind of stuff, which is a reprehensible thing. But I've never been to the border myself, and I've never really seen it for myself, so I'll have to take their word for it. But I don't think that ICE should be abolished, because here's the thing that gets me, is that nobody complained about it until Trump was president. If you want to look back at the facts, President Obama actually detained and deported more people than President Trump has using ICE. So it's been around, and both political parties, presidents have supported it. Obama was a big fan of it. George Bush was a fan of it. Trump is obviously a fan of it. And I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with ICE, and I don't think that they should be abolished, because I do think that as a sovereign nation, we obviously have a right to protect our border and, you know, patrol it and all that kind of stuff, and get people that slip through the cracks that commit crimes. If they're illegal immigrants, then it would only make sense to deport them back to their country. So I don't think that we should get rid of ICE in that sense. Now, has ICE done some reprehensible things and some brutal things? Sure. I have friends that have personal anecdotes about it, and I'm not going to just dismiss that. But I don't think that it should be abolished altogether, because then we have much less security and safety at our southern border. So I would say that instead of them being abolished, they should just, you know, take it easier, you know, maybe not be so brutal, maybe not do so many, you know, things that garner condemnation in the news, and don't act so brutally, you know. And I've also heard that they've deported innocent people, so maybe they should, you know, find who the real criminals are and deport the real criminals, rather than just the innocent people trying to make a wage and trying to make a life here in America if they're illegal immigrants. And I'm going to be honest with you, immigration is a large issue that I have a lot to say about, but for the purpose of this video, we're just focusing on ICE, and my viewpoints on immigration will be on a later video that we dive more into it. But for all intents and purposes for this video, ICE, they shouldn't abolish ICE at all. That would be like telling people to abolish the police or abolish the firefighters or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that. No, you know what? I am saying that it is an essential, you know, thing for Border Patrol in any country. Any country around the world has a right to do that as a sovereign nation. So I'm not saying get rid of it. America is not just a free-for-all. We have a process. People have to come here, blah, 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 blah. However, they could act less brutal, and they could, you know, do better in the fact that they focus only on getting criminals and all that kind of stuff. So that's my viewpoint on ICE. I think it's a pretty fair viewpoint. I really do. And I mean, keep in mind, everyone in this country is a descendant of immigrants, whether, you know, unless they're Native American. But even then, Native Americans came to America from Asia 12,000-ish years ago, which is a long time ago. But even then, America was not like the cradle of human civilization like Africa was. But that's regardless. But everyone in this country is descended from immigrants, unless you're 100% pure Native American. So I feel like, with that being said, you know, immigrants make America go round. Immigrants make America work. I don't see any legal immigrants lining up to pick crops or clean bathrooms in hotels or anything like that. And I'm not being racist when I say that. I'm just saying that a lot of illegal immigrants have jobs like that, and no legal people really are lining up to do that. So that's why I'm saying that our country relies on immigrants, for sure. Everyone is descended from immigrants. But you've got to... There's kind of a process that you have to go through nowadays. My grandma immigrated from South Korea, and she had to go through a pretty arduous process where she had to apply for citizenship, she had to learn English, she had to take her citizenship test. And keep in mind that learning English as someone that speaks Korean, which is an Asian language and that has no relation to English whatsoever, is probably a little bit more difficult than someone learning English that speaks Spanish. I've taken Spanish for 8 years, and I would say that I'm pretty close to fluent in Spanish, and there's a lot of overlap between English and Spanish. Now, I'm not canceling out people's, I'm not canceling out people's experiences, and I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not easy by any means. And I say this as a privileged American that was born into citizenship, but I'm just saying that people from other places have to go through the process. And that's also the thing, is that I don't see signs everywhere in America written also in Japanese, or also in Arabic, or also in Urdu. I see signs written also in Spanish. So it's even easier at that point. So people need to come to this country legally. Now, what I've been told is that a lot of people are trying to come to this country legally, but our country is not letting them in legally. And that is a problem. That's a large problem, because a lot of people had to do it the other way, or the legal way. So these people that are coming in should have to do it the legal way too. It's fair. But our country right now is not really making that happen. So I would say that it's both an injustice on the country's part, on the part of the United States, and the fact that we're not letting people in legally, but it's also kind of on the part of the people that are coming here illegally. So yeah, it's another one of those vicious circles kind of thing that I talked about with like the whole women and men privilege. But those are my thoughts on ICE. Not be abolished, maybe reformed, ease up a little bit, be a little bit less brutal. Don't make yourself big names in the news for keeping kids in cages and, doing bad things like that. But it's a force that should ultimately be acting for good. And these are just my views. Of course, I'm not Mexican. I didn't come here illegally. So my views are going to be different as someone that was born into an American society legally. But yeah. But keep in mind, just because your parents come here illegally doesn't make you any less American. Those conservative rednecks that talk about that are full of shit. Just keep that in mind. So these have been my views on ICE and immigration, I guess. I'll go in more into immigration in another video, just like I'll go more into Israel-Palestine in another video. I really only got to scratch the surface with that. But again, follow me on Instagram at @solojew_. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like, a comment, whatever. Tell your friends. And if you want to be featured on my podcast, on my show, on an episode of my show, let me know. You know how to contact me. Thank you guys. Stay safe and take the coronavirus pandemic seriously. Back to you.